So, like Chelsea said, I worked with Chelsea at Blue Cross Blue Shield I was there for a number of years. She was there for a brief period of time. I personally am a bit of a tech nerd. I don't write code. I'll start off saying that right now. So if I say something incorrect, I apologize. I am a dog daddy, and I also have spent a number of years in technology in various roles. Professionally, again, I'm an IT professional. I have worked with literally hundreds of engineers directly, so not like overseeing engineers, like side by side with engineers for a long time. And also, I've worked in a number of different development styles, so all the way from waterfall and SDLC, all the way through XP, so even some safe and scaled agile in between there. So I've kind of seen the development of an application, website, pretty much every way it could be done, more so on the product side, but again, working very closely with technical teams. And so currently, I manage a product. And so I'm hoping this will be interactive. We'll do some ping pong, I'll lob some things back, you guys try to return it to me. So we'll try to create a structure, and so we'll try this and see how it goes, okay? So, I manage a product. What is a product? Anybody?
A thing.
Thing.
Something you sell that creates value for the customer.
And it creates value.
Something solves a problem for an end user.
Like it? Like it? You guys are on the UX side. I'm fancy for that myself.
Generates income for the money.
Hopefully, for someone, right? What was that?
I said a good or service for income.
Very good. Yeah. Thing is pretty much anything. So the most generic definition is a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing produced by labor or effort. That's it. So when you think about a product from my perspective and how I visualize a product, it's really the result of a process. And when I think about a product being a result of a process, then I have to ask the question, what is a product manager? Next question. What is a product manager?
Process manager.
Yeah, so manager of process. And that's how I visualize myself and what I've done over my career. Now, you look at some of the definitions. They'll throw out these very generic geometric shapes, and they'll show the intersection of business, technology, and user experience. Those things are great for like elevator pitches when you're talking to stakeholders within the company. But when you really get down to telling a person who you're going to be working with what you do and the value you add, which is something that I've learned is very beneficial when starting out a relationship with an engineer or developer, you really have to be a bit more specific about the actual value that you add and how you can make their lives easier. So that's one of the things that I felt like I wanted to make sure that I brought to each and every developer relationship that I've ever had. So when I think about the manager process, right, what does that really entail? So again, I've worked in a number of development styles. So if I think about it from SDLC or in a waterfall structure, it's a lot of rituals and documentation, working within the constraints of an organization, a very large organization in most times. Also working within the constraints of staffing, development teams, org structures, offshore teams, all of these things start to create a little difficulty and a little more nuance to that process, right? So it starts to complicate it a bit. Then you start to think about the other kind of tangential things that come along with the part of the process. You got people, you got a number of people, number of personalities, number of different work schedules. Again, we're talking overseas, time zones, you got difficulties in language and communications there. So when you start thinking about what the value that a product manager actually brings, it's really bringing all that together. And I'm going to use synthesis from now because this is a word that my friend Durkin over here, we used to talk about all the time. So when I think about synthesis, it brings me to a musical kind of note, right? So I start to think about how I can make all of these procedures and processes come together to make something, right? And so when I want to create something for a company or a service for a company, I need all of these pieces, I need all of these instruments to come together, synthesize, create some output that is valuable. So, going back to the structure, I'm a product manager, I manage a process. One of the key tenets to managing a process and managing a team or a product is prioritization. Prioritization is something that product managers throw out loosely all the time is around decision making. You'll get tired of hearing it. We'll draw a dozen 2x2s and have you plot things out and make a decision for us. We want to put the onus on you, and it's intentional, and those acts are very valuable. But at the core of it, we're trying to help you visualize the work so we can tell a story. So you can go back and tell your stakeholders the story. So then those stakeholders can go tell their stakeholders the story, all the way up to the most highest parts of an organization. So a very valuable exercise. So how do you prioritize? Come on, guys. Third one now.
Some combination of the cost of creating some sort of feature of the product along with the benefit that you receive from going through that process.
So that sounds like more like an impact-based prioritization. And I'll go into that a little bit. So impact-based means you're trying to serve the most largest portion of your population with a particular feature or work, so you can bring value to them. Maybe that's to bring in more revenue, or potentially it could be bringing new people that look like them. But it's impact. It's going to have a broader impact on the most number of people. What other ways can we prioritize?
Deadlines.
Deadlines. Very good, actually. Deadlines. This is when you're working within the confines of a giant organization, there will always be deadlines. Whether or not you want them to, whether or not you feel like they're important, they are what keeps the light on. So one of those things we have to do. What other ways do we prioritize?
Effort.
Absolutely. So again, we start to talk about plotting things out. We want to learn the impact. We want to see how much work it takes. So we start to plot that out on the journey and determine how we align our roadmap to those things, right? Very good. Anything else?
External factors.
External factors. Things that we cannot control. So when you think about it, we have the constraints. We have our team. People get sick, right? We have our team. Someone gets sick. That's the person working on an integration with the overseas development company, right? They're out. Now all of a sudden we have a new set of priorities, right? First of all, we got to prioritize getting someone in to kind of backfill that person, right? So we kind of maintain that relationship. But more so than that, we have to make sure that business continuity continues on. So we have to make sure that we're still communicating, opening up those channels of discussion so that we can start to understand where the process is, how we can take it, and how we can kind of evolve from there. Anything else? There's one kind of pretty obvious one. Metric-based. So metric-based is kind of the most common that you'll see people in suits and ties talk about. They start to say things like, oh, KPIs, you got to make sure you meet KPIs. And those things are great, and they're great as a reference point, and they're something that you can talk through. They're great for slides. They're great for conversations. They're great for getting funding and things like that, and things that they say will move the needle, move the dial. Those things are fantastic, and they're great. But at the core of it, most of the time, those things are just for those discussions. The team internally really understands what their user looks like, what's it going to take to kind of make them happy. We've done the research. A good product team, and specifically with a good product manager, already knows kind of what they need to do. The metrics are valuable, but those KPIs are really very much tied to this higher level discussions. So again, so now we got prioritizations. We understand what a product manager is. We understand what the product is. Hopefully, we understand what that is. And so now we start to think about how do we prioritize. So, question for you. I've worked, again, over 100 engineers very closely. I narrowed it down to really 4 distinct personalities of developers and engineers. And I love that you guys are all right up front.
Oh no.
So this time I'm going to start, and then I'm going to ask you guys to give me some examples of engineers and things that you've worked with. And Chelsea knows we've, going through XP model and rotating engineers every 30 days and switching teams, switching staff, touched a lot of bodies, met a lot of personalities. And one of the, kind of an offshoot, one of the things that I'll say is each and every time I had a new engineering team or engineer join, I felt like I was being interviewed. And I felt like this was another person that I had to convince that I was capable of being their product manager. And I took that with pride, and I really wanted to make sure that I did that. So again, we start out with our product. We have our product manager. We know what prioritization is. Now we got to build a team, right? I see engineers 4 categories. I see your juniors. Great people, maybe did a boot camp, had some interest in technology, maybe a year or 2 experience, so very light, eager, energetic, willing to learn. Right? Everyone knows or seen someone like that. The next level up, and this is in no particular order, maybe it is what I call your even Steven or your steady Eddie. This is the guy that's like worked years ago, has like cobalt experience, wants to kind of try something new, stay relevant, and he's going on and just kind of continues on. He's not a revolutionary. He's not trying to break things. He's not kind of trying to disrupt at all. All he really wants to do is kind of stay the course, help when he can, and kind of go on about his day with his family. Right. I'm building personas now. I'm helping out. And then there's another range, and this one's kind of new. You kind of see some variation of that if you Google like engineering personality. You'll see some variation of those. But there's one that I kind of developed myself, and it's the cowboy. And most people think cowboy is like the rock star. I think those two things are two very distinct personalities. So, and I'll tell you why. A cowboy is kind of like goes on their own, wants to kind of solve problems, but wants to do them independently. A rock star has no problem bringing you along for the journey, as long as you don't slow them down. So these are my 4 categories of engineers, and obviously people blur the lines and they fall into different categories, but some breakdown of some component of each of those. So I'm going to ask you, how would you prioritize building your engineering team?
You need them all, right?
Anybody else? Just throw something out there. No wrong answer.
Give me a rock star and 2 juniors.
Houston? Rockstar's going to lead you. You always do.
Juniors are eager. They're gonna try and rise up to the rock star level.
Yeah. So you know the problem with that approach? Rockstar leads. Okay. Rockstar teaches you a ton of shitty code. Okay? None of it's reusable. None of it's in alignment with the application itself. You delivered a ton of stuff. Cool. But nobody else in the organization understands it. Any other breakdown of engineering teams you want to throw out?
Bunch of cowboys.
Bunch of cowboys.
Work on that team.
Wild, Wild West. It's great. And again, you deliver a ton. You roll in a new team, 1.5 persons leave, someone loses interest, they're not engaged in the product or the process anymore. You're out. You're out. You can't continuously deliver. It's not sustainable. You can't continue to evolve. One more.
So I'm going off of like instinct,
Uh-huh.
right? Not any sort of empirical
Yep.
evidence here, but it sounds like maybe a couple of junior people who are really eager to learn and push the envelope. Maybe one rock star to kind of motivate people to not be too comfortable, and then a few steady eddies to be able to provide more stability.
Yeah, again, no right answer, but very close. Like if I were to build a product team, I would prioritize the steady eddies. That's number one. I want steady Eddie. I want the guy that's going to stick around. I know I got him for 5 years. Like I know he understands the business enough. I know he understands how the operating model and the structure. So when new engineers come on, they can get onboarded quicker. They can get more relevant experience. They can understand patterns and why we do it. Tell the story, right? That's number one for me. Next thing I want to do is I want to get some of those younger people, just in case my steady Eddie decides he wants to move out to the suburbs. He doesn't want to commute to the city anymore, right? And so I need a couple people that are building up that kind of working style and that kind of pattern of working. And what I want to do, I want to consult cowboys and rock stars. I want to bring them in for 30 days, 60 days, and just come in, inject some energy, inject some new styles, kind of energize the room and the team a bit.
And then eject.
Send them on their way. Send them on their way. Again, I work with some great ones, great personally, but just not a whole lot of value to the team. And so how I'll kind of conclude this whole product breakdown is I'll ask you how you would like to prioritize your career path. And when I think about a career path, an engineering background, and development background, kind of goes a couple different ways. You either want to come in and disrupt. Doesn't mean you're a cowboy or a rock star. It just means you want to come in, you want to change things, you want to do all these cool new things, you want to change the company's culture, you want to show everyone else all the cool things you've learned. Nothing wrong with that, right? The next path that I kind of see is those that really want to just move from engineering and development. They like writing code, but not really their thing. So they're thinking about kind of the next stage and potentially leading a team, maybe even transitioning into product, maybe going all the way to the business side and just more of it on the strategy side. It's kind of step two. The biggest opportunity, in my personal opinion, is somewhere in between there. Because what happens is you get a number of engineers professionally who end up just moving up in the company simply because they've been there a very long time. And then they're leading new engineers, and they're teaching them very core working habits. And those things aren't really valuable to a company that's looking to continuously grow and evolve. So what you really want to do is you want to have those people that really understand the technology or understand technology, right? That have an interest in it and will continuously learn and grow with that technology. That also have that personality and that ability or desire, I should say, to want to interact and lead others. The last one is purpose-driven or mission-driven. You want to go out and you want to change the world, right? You want to go non-for-profit. You want to try to disrupt and fix healthcare. You want to come out and you want to cure homelessness. I don't know. Sorry, guys. But you want to change. You want to change something. You want to change it for the purest of reasons. How would you prioritize your career path as it stands today? Obviously, everyone falls in some sort of component of them both, but I'd be interested to see where you are in your stage, where you would fall.
You're asking for us,
Yes.
not for the personalities we look for in a team that we're
Asking you, where do you see your, and which component of that personality type would you prioritize for your next stage?
probably that sweet spot you mentioned, sort of like starting out, picking up on the technical chops, but ultimately trying to be a leader of technical people.
It's a very, and I'm going to look at the engineers and people with experience. It's a very small population. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's very few people that can actually do that, and it's really an underserved population in large enterprises. I work for Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is, and I work for Bank of America, which is, so again, very large, very a lot of very meaty organizations. Anybody else want to throw something out? So really, what I wanted to do is not necessarily give you a day in the life of a product manager. I really wanted to give you into the mentality of a product manager. And what I feel like the mentality of a product manager is that you can prioritize anything. You can apply a product mindset to anything. And when you apply that mindset to a team, that team being UX, that team being engineering, that team being product management, you can really, really create something valuable within the confines of whatever you can control. That's all I got. Questions? Oh, you can clap, buddy. I appreciate that. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so how would you contrast project management and product?
Very easily. So project manager is very strict on deadline, timelines, documentation, aligning stakeholders, meeting. It's really an unnecessary role in today's environment. And in today's world, it means that a product manager hasn't done his job. But the truer definition is like managing timelines, budgets. Typically, product managers don't have budget control. That's kind of handled outside at the leadership level. That's the one pretty distinct variance. And really all it is just updating documents. With product being very much integrated into the organization and its culture to understand the path of that particular company, understand the technology or whatever the product they're serving. It doesn't have to be technical. And then they understand enough about the experience and what the people want. So that's the value of product versus project.
What do you look for in a product management, or someone who's going to your product management team as opposed to someone who's working for you as an engineer?
Fantastic question. Naturally inquisitive. It's the same thing I look for when I talk to an engineer. If you don't have a ton of questions for me, I'm not interested. And when I think about all of the product managers that I know, and I met some great ones, and all of them have very similar traits. They all want to keep learning. They all like to, and I took it up, I'm a carpenter, so they're all kind of perfectionists when it comes to delivery, structured. But they ask a ton of questions. That's the only way you'll ever get to any sort of solution is to ask a number of questions, ask the same ones in different ways, and also just be thoughtful about first thing I look for when I'm in it, you get to a level where most of the resumes look the same. Anyone can type up any sort of text on in Word and then transition it to a PDF and upload it to a website. Yeah, that's great. But when you start to talk to them, you understand their level of communication and appetite to continuously learn and grow. And again, just being naturally inquisitive.
How, in terms of like organization structure, if you look at a product manager being someone that's managing, I guess, a large cross-functional group of people.
Yeah, my trend right now is 65 engineers in QA.
Wow.
Spread across 6 teams,
That's crazy.
and
Yeah.
40% are overseas.
And how many people are there in the, are you the sole product manager or are there multiple product managers in the team?
So very much like my time at HCSC, I own the product of products. So my product has products. And so I had the core application for both, and there are a lot of sub-components to that product that types roll up underneath. And these are a lot of people who had traditional roles within the organization who kind of got forced into product roles. Most times doesn't work well. Sometimes you get people, I mean, I was those people, right? I had a regular job. I had always been a product manager. There just wasn't a title for it at the time. But yeah, you find people of varying degrees of interest, understanding, and appetite. That's kind of one of the tricky parts of having a product that's a product of products. But it also creates an opportunity, right? And again, for someone who's naturally inquisitive and wants to continue to learn, I learned more about these organizations actually doing it than I felt like I could have learned in 10, 20 years of just going to school and learning about it. So crash courses every 30 days or so when a new integration comes up. Right now, we're talking about blockchain, AI. I work for a bank, so every day there's something new and hot, and I have to become an expert within like a week or so I can talk about it in front of someone. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. Anyone else?
All right, thank you, Arnold. All right. Let me set that.